Hi, this is Chase Utley, and this is the Phillies Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies Show. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zolecki. We are part of the Foul Territory Network. It's Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. You know tonight is 6 p.m. Eastern is the trade deadline. You know by now what moves the Phillies have done. We will see if Dave Dombrowski has anything else up his sleeve. Maybe it's another arm. Maybe it's another bat. Maybe it's nothing at all. In the meantime, though, this will be a nice change of pace. We caught up the other day with Hunter Pence, who, of course, was one of Ruben's big trade deadline acquisitions in July of 2011 from the Astros. Hunter becomes an instant fan favorite. The moment he puts on his Phillies uniform, he helps the Phillies win a franchise record 102 games. They fall short, of course, in the postseason, and then he gets traded to the Giants in July of 2012. We took a stroll down memory lane, shared a lot of fun stories, threw in a surprise for you that we think you'll get a kick out of in the middle of it. Hunter is in town this week because the Phillies are celebrating the 20-year anniversary of Citizens Bank Park, so they've been bringing in former Phillies to throw out first pitches. Hunter's throwing out the first pitch before Wednesday afternoon's games against the Yankees. And then if you want to meet Hunter, there's an opportunity for you. He's hosting an equipment drive and meet and greet, again, Wednesday, July 31st at Yards Brewing in Philadelphia, from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Fans are invited to donate new or gently used baseball or softball gear to gain entry and the opportunity to meet Pence, take photos, get autographs. Hunter is partnered with Pitch In for baseball and softball to distribute the collected equipment to youth baseball and softball teams in local underserved neighborhoods. So that should be a good cause, a great time. Bring in some gear, meet Hunter, get an autograph, get a photo. But while we wait for 6 p.m. Eastern to show, here is what we talked about with Hunter Pence. You're going to enjoy this. Hunter, man, thank you so much for joining the Phillies Show. So good to have you. You're going to be in town in Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park. It's the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park, and you're going to be throwing out a first pitch on Wednesday. And obviously you had a great time in Philly, short time in Philly, but a great time in Philly. Are you looking forward to coming back?
Absolutely. It's going to be so fun to come back. What an honor. This will be my first pitch ever. Like, do y'all have any tips on like how I should go about it? Like, I haven't really played too much catch since I retired, but a little bit here and there. Any tips? What should I go with?
Ruben, that's you, buddy.
I would not go to the top of the mound. I would go probably just in front and or just in front of the rubber. Make sure you get loose. And I would just go ahead and fire, man.
Let it rip. Like, let it rip. Throw it as hard as I can, huh? All right.
No, not as hard as you can, but because you might blow somebody up there. But I don't know do you know who's catching it?
No idea. No idea.
All right, I'm sure it'll be something special too. So.
All right. Well, I'm excited. Yeah, it'll be cool. And what an honor to get back to the bank. Yeah, I'm excited.
The timing's perfect because, of course, you were a huge trade deadline acquisition for Ruben in 2011. When you think about that time, what immediately comes to mind for you?
Getting traded over to the Phillies. Oh man, like it was what a blessing. Like I was super excited to be I was a Texas kid, right? Born and raised, and it was an honor to play for the Astros. And you always have the dreams. Like I think y'all all know me, like I'm a guy that wants to be loyal and like stick to whoever, but like you find out through the nature of baseball that's very difficult to have that opportunity to get to stay with one team. So obviously we were losing a lot in Houston, and it was a heartbreak that I wasn't able to like make it happen there. But then when I got to Philly, man, like this is a team that was prime, probably the most talented team 2011, the Phillies that I ever played on. I would say definitely it was an insane group. Obviously, like we didn't catch lightning in the bottle. Like you got to have a lot of things go your way. But I got to meet like the Philly fan base, learn and experience a whole new city. And so it was perfect for me. That opportunity and coming in to Philly in that time was ridiculous. It was like really, really fun.
I still remember the day you arrived, Hunter, because, there was a lot of rumors that, hey, they want a right-handed bat. Hunter Pence is the best right-handed bat out there. And we kind of knew that they're going to get Hunter Pence. The deal goes down, and you show up like an hour before game time, And I remember you came on the field, they had to spray paint your spikes red. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, because you had to have red
that.
spikes, and I didn't have any. And man, I was about business. Like, I was coming, I play every day. I burned the field to the ground. Like, that's just who I was. Like, I'm gonna hit the weights afterwards, and like that's just very aggressive. Is just kind of my mindset. So spray paint the spikes, whatever we got to do. And I think one game I wore like Nikes because I had to deal with Reebok, and I think the first game I actually wore Nikes, and that was the picture that like blew up everywhere, and it's me in a Nike shoe, and I have this like big Reebok deal at the time, and so then we started spray painting my Reeboks, but like you can't reverse the time. I guess we should have spray painted them the first day. Do you remember that, Ruben?
I think and it must have been Frank Oppenbarger who was spray painting stuff, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. They just find a way in the clubhouse, man. The grinders, and honestly, the spray paint was like really cool. That was way more fun.
So we're approaching another trade deadline here, and I mean, you went through it twice. You went through it Houston to Philly, Philly to San Francisco. When you start hearing your name a little bit, and you kind of do the math that, I might be the guy, is it stressful on the player? Is it stressful on the human being?
I mean, it's going to depend on situations, right? Like different people have families. When you become a veteran or whatever, and your wife and you have a system, if you're like really hooked into a place and you're not expecting to ever get traded, and then that happens and you're caught, like you just bought a house or whatever. That's the old saying. It's like, don't buy a house, that'll get you traded. It can. And like for me as a young kid, and like, once again, like the dreams of being like the Craig Biggio that gets to stay forever. So emotionally it was a big hit. But as far as like, I don't know, I feel like baseball is a bit of a soul journey, and like what it taught me as a human and an individual, it was like perfect for me. And like you get to learn so much, make so many more relationships, learn so much more about our country, learn so much more about different organizations. And as a student in the science of the game of baseball, game of business, game of life, you learn so much from each organization you go to, especially if you like go in with like I'm going to give my all to who believes in me. Whoever just traded for you really believes in you. I'm going to give my all to the city. I'm going to go like get out into the streets and like learn what it's about, experience the shops, experience the people, talk on the radio shows, meet the personalities, and like also take the accountability of the mistakes you make. Like none of us are perfect. We're going to be humans, but like you can learn so much from each organization in each city.
So Hunter, one of the reasons why you were sort of the perfect fit, not just because, you were a right-handed bat and you played the right position that we sort of needed to fill, but you also had a certain personality and a makeup that I think the fan base in Philadelphia, because you were just kind of this balls out player, were like the great fit for us. Now, is this something that developed? Is this something that you were as a kid? What were you like as a kid? Was this sort of just like was this the more mature Hunter Pence that became this, really aggressive player, or is this something that gradually happened in your life?
You know what? Like I grew up in Texas. Like I grew up with like humility embedded in me, like be humble, be quiet. Right. But like my innate nature, especially in sports, like I just like, there's something in me that loves to compete. And when I go for it. And so my thing was like, let your actions speak. Don't let your words speak. So like, you're going to see the fire that's in me through my play was kind of like, and yes, like, you're coming up through all the leagues, like, you're always, in my particular case, I was always the youngest everywhere until I got to the big leagues. Right. And like still very young. And so I always had to kind of keep a quiet mind, but like, yeah, I think just my nature in and of itself is aggressive. But a lot of my coaches, like I got to the big leagues and it was like, hey, be conservative. And it was just like, so not me. So I was like in this like weird battle. Like, how do I be like, I want to go make the play. I want to lay out for it. Like I believe in myself and I had good instincts. I don't want to be reckless. So yeah, I think it is just my nature. Like I've always believed like defense prevents you from winning. Anytime you get like lit up in basketball or whatever, and you're not continuing to push the envelope, like I love Chase Utley's mindset. He was like, listen, like the game's not over till he laughs freaking out. We are here to continue to add on. Don't settle into like whatever the record is. Don't settle into whatever the score is, like ahead or behind, continue to push. And like, I just love that mindset. And even Charlie Manuel's a dude that's like, hey man, are we like, it's like breakfast time. And Charlie's like, hey, what are you doing? Looking for hits? Is it time to hit homers? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm ready. I'm thinking about it. So that just is me. I am that fire energy, and I live for that.
So I was curious, when you walked into that clubhouse, with your expectations, like how fired up were you? How nervous were you? Were you intimidated in any way, shape, or form? Because now you're in a situation where you came from Houston and weren't winning. Now the expectation was to win. What was going through your mind and what was going through your body at the time?
Oh man, I was thrilled. I would say that I also had a very I'm very curious in life in general, and I was excited to learn from Utley, Howard, Rollins, Victorino. I want to learn from Holiday, Cliff Lee, and there's a lot there's so much value in that experience of watching how Holiday went about his business and how Cliff Lee, two guys that were competing for the Cy Young with totally different ideas of how to prepare for a Major League Baseball game. But also, there was just so many there's more than one way to succeed at this game. And I finally hit that point because when I first got to the majors, Ruben, I would take Berkman to breakfast. I would take Carlos Lee, Morgan Ensberg, and I would ask all of them. I even I called up Barry Bonds and went to I was studying all of the greats at Bagwell and Biggio. And every time I tried to be one of them, or I would take a little bit of notes, but I would try too much to be them, I would get worse. So I finally learned that take the good and the bad, but make it your own. And even Charlie said that, know yourself. We're all built a little bit different. I thought he was really wise with that. So then for me, it was just more of more opportunity for knowledge, but I was ready to win at that point. And I was excited. It felt like a lot of pressure left off of me because in Houston, it was kind of just me and Bourne having a good season. It was I had to carry the whole weight. And now it was just be the puzzle piece because there's a lot of pieces around you. And it was Raul Ibanez one day, Polanco the next day, Utley the next day, me the next, and just keep doing your part. And it was Charlie was similar where it's every single day you play. These are my guys, go play. And I lived for that.
I remember you talk about the differences between Roy and Cliff. And I remember Jason Worth once telling me that he's when it was Roy's day to start, you knew because he was laser focused. You couldn't talk to him. He said, and meanwhile, then Cliff Lee, a half an hour before he started, he's throwing paper into a trash can for $100 a shot. I mean, just he's is Cliff's pitching today? I don't even know if Cliff's pitching today, right? Is that kind of how you would describe the difference between Roy and Cliff?
Yeah, Roy was literally hours in the studying notebooks of how to dissertate every single batter, where their weaknesses were and what counts, every percentage. But also Holiday had the arsenal of I can throw any pitch and they're all good. So which one do I want to throw? And so he leaned his confidence on knowing your weakness, and he had every pitch. So he didn't just need to be I'm just going to have my strength overpower you. Cliff Lee was just I don't care what your weakness is. You can't hit my strength. And,
right.
And he believed in that. And but if Cliff Lee overthought it, he might get worse. And if Roy Halladay didn't do his preparation, he would lose his confidence. So that was what was good for both of them. What one thing that's good for one person doesn't mean it's good for everyone. Similar to what I was saying with I tried to be Lance Berkman and I got a little bit worse. He's swing down and catch it way too deep. And Carlos Lee he had some really good tips. Carlos Lee probably gave me some of the best advice in hitting that I ever got because it was very general and it wasn't be him. And I shared this with a lot of people. But anyway, every time I tried to be, or even Barry Bonds, I got worse. So each of them were totally different and it worked for them and they knew themselves, which was really cool.
Was there anything you picked up from Chase? Because we've had, feel like every player that we've had on that played with him, we've had Hamels, Frank Coeur, Pat Burrell. They all have a Chase Utley story. Is there a lesson that he taught you or just a favorite story when people ask about him that comes to mind?
I mean, I have a lot of stories. He was kind of a big mystery to me because he's kind of secretive in general. But there was one time, I think in 2012, I was struggling and he kind of was hey, let's go through this and let's do this. And he was trying to help me. I remember trying to do the stuff that he was telling me. He was telling me I was hitting it too hard in BP and, whatever. Mm-hmm. And you have these years where it's like the year before, everything was in sync and working. And then I don't know, whatever that reason that year I was hitting homers and I was driving in runs, but I was at 260 average or something, which is not where I really felt like I belonged. And, but yeah, he was kind of secretive, but then one time he tried to help me and he was always questioning, what are you doing? What's happening here? But he wouldn't tell me why he was questioning it. But I guess for me, the biggest thing I saw was like what I tried to mirror him at first, like get there as early as him and start watching as much video as him. And like my head started to hurt. I was like, dude, I don't have the mental capacity for this. Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So, but also he would show me like he could see tips and things. Like he just had this ability. He's like, look at his glove. And it'd be like, his glove would do this. His glove would like, it was like the tiniest thing. Like I can't even do it justice. And I was like, I literally don't see a difference. And he was like, I don't know. So, but at the same time, like I learned there were some really cool things he taught me on leadership. You know, like the first day I got there, he was like, hey man, like, let me show you around the city so that you can learn the city. And I was like, oh, I can just get a cab ride home. He's like, yeah, you could, but let me show you around. And then like, he showed me around the city and, you know, and just kind of welcomed me. He's like, if there's anything you need, like like all of them, like Utley, Rollins, Howard, they all came up to me, Ruben, back to your first question. And the first thing they said was like, hey, we don't need you to be anything more than yourself. Just be yourself. And so like, they just like that made it so easy coming in to have confidence. It's like, hey, welcome. Like, we got this. Like, you don't have to do everything anymore. And they all vocalized that. And that was really cool.
And you were yourself. And you showed up. You were full of energy, full of personality, full of production. And the fans fell in love with you just like that. And of course, it didn't hurt that you showed this. I guess you'd call it a sense of humor. But it was sort of like the mantra for the season. You win a big ball game, they interview you after the game, and you say, great game, let's go eat.
That was perfect in Philly. They love to eat.
Oh, heck yeah. Don't we all? Well, I mean, it was like this game, and I think we had to get a getaway day, and we're in the outfield. And there's more to this story than just that. So, like, we're in the outfield, and Victorino's like, man, I'm starving. Can you end this game? And so I'm like, oh man, Victorino's hungry, baby. I got to find a way to score, you know, lock in for the homies. And so they're like, well, what'd you think when you scored the winning run? And I was like, and like the first thing that popped into my head was an old school, like 100 points in the basketball game for the Mavericks. They would get like tacos. And so like they had this thing where Dirk Nowitzki came in, like dunked on someone for the 100th point, and they were like, hey, Dirk Nowitzki says, let my people eat. So I was like, Victorino's hungry, like we scored the winning run, good game, baby, let's go eat. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was so beautiful. There were t-shirts and everything.
Yeah, it went off. Awesome, it went off. People Philly people still to this day, oh, I loved you in Philly. Let's go eat, Hunter.
So, Hunter, I hope I actually found this commercial. Do you remember the Licios commercial that you did?
Oh yeah.
Can I play it?
Anybody forget that commercial?
Can I want to play it real quick, and I want to get
homage. I was talking. Yeah, let's see.
Here we go.
Pence here for Licios Bakery. You can do so many things with Licios bread and rolls. I use Licios Italian to measure my socks, and you're good to go. They've actually become a big part of my training regimen. Today we're gonna get our curls in with the Licios Italian bread. I like to work my lats and delts with their patented bread rolling. My favorite thing to do with Licios rolls, eat them. Licios Bakery, it all starts with the bread.
It's such a cool. You know that still pops up. That still pops up on my Twitter timeline at times, and I think funny. Like people see that commercial, they think of you. There's still like this sense of nostalgia for that season, for that year, and I think it just kind of embodies how big that team was. That you could make a little off the cuff comment. I think it was your second game with the Phillies, right? And I think that probably sparked Licios reaching out to you to do a commercial.
Man, I love that commercial. Like people hated on that. And a lot of people play like that commercial's terrible. That commercial's terrible. I'm like, you're never going to forget this commercial. Now, Ruben, you remember this when you traded for me, you got like some money back or something because I had like a sports hernia. So I was playing 2011 with a sports hernia the entire season. So I had the sports hernia surgery after the season was over, and I could barely move when we were shooting that commercial. So like I was just like trying to get through life. And then we only had one day to shoot it. And I was just like, all right, I got to figure this out.
That's funny. That's funny. Very cool.
You joined that great team in 2011. Ruben made big deals every year. Cliff Lee 1 year, Oswalt 1 year, you 1 year. Made them all on July 29th. It was crazy. And then, you mentioned how talented the 2011 team was, and you went on to win 2 World Series in San Francisco, but that 2011 team, 102 wins, best team in baseball. and they just had a bad week against St. Louis, and it ends like that. It was like stunning. And I know it still pains Ruben. How about you? Do you still carry that defeat St. Louis and what might have been?
Oh my God, 100,000,000%. I'm still sick to death. Like, I could not believe we lost that. Like, and there's just so much to it, right? Like we won the division with like 25 or something days left in the season. So like everyone was banged up. You know, Howard had the Achilles, and like most of us, like even I had like a knee thing or something, and I had like 8 days off as well. And then all of us came back for the last series against the Braves. We sweep the Braves, the Cardinals sweep the Astros. So we bring the Cardinals into the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of. Right. And, you know, like I'll still remember Cliff Lee pitching, and La Russa goes and gets on Jerry Meals. We had like a 4-run lead at home. We won game 1, I believe. Cliff Lee's dealing, and then all of a sudden La Russa wears out Jerry Meals. Mm-hmm. And then Cliff's like, he won't call a strike. And they climb back, and they get like a lead, and they win that game. We're just like, what? And then the last game where it was like freezing cold and the wind's blowing in, and we're like crushing balls into this like icy like wind that's like knocking. Like Utley killed one, Howard killed the last one. Those are homers anytime during the summer. So it just like wasn't meant to be. But yeah, no, the pain of losing that series, and like honestly, I feel like when you traded me out, like Utley and Howard were out for the whole first half. The only like it was like Victorino, me, and Reese were like trying to fight and carry the torch, and we were 4 games behind the Braves. So like we thought like, oh, Utley, Howard coming back, we're gonna make this run, we're gonna make this push. But I guess like there was a lot of closed door meetings, and you know, and I don't know what was said there or what the situation was, but you sent Victorino out to LA, then you sent me to San Francisco. I was just like, whoa, like I thought we were gonna make this run, but the pain of losing that series to the Cardinals. And like even just remembering how it felt like spring training for 25 games, when I got to the Giants and we ended up rattling off and winning the division by 10 games, I remember telling everyone, I was like, look, we have all these days. We cannot just relax and treat it like spring training. And like I learned the lesson from that year that you can't just flip the switch on and off. And so like I was like they'd be like, hey, Sunday day game, do you want a day off? I'm like, no, I'm playing. And I'd be yelling at like players, like if their body language wasn't there, I'd be like, let's go, it freaking matters. And like we had these like a couple comeback wins, and we kept kind of the pedal to the metal because of that. And I don't know if y'all remember, but like the speeches and stuff that demon that was within me was built from the pain of losing in 2011. Like it was big. Wow. I would not like, I was just like, this ain't happening again. Like I do not want to go home.
Wow. I remember watching those in the dugout, you giving those pep talks.
Yeah.
To the Giants. And you're so right about Jerry Meals. Tony La Russa goes on Fox TV between innings for the interview, and he's asked an innocuous question, and he has an agenda. He basically says, we're pitching to 2 different strike zones here. And then he goes out and he airs out Meals on the mound during a trip to the mound, and all the pitches Cliff Lee was getting, he didn't get him anymore, and it changed everything.
That changed the whole series.
That was a real disappointing time. I remember getting a call from David Montgomery. Did you see what Tony La Russa's doing? You got to, say Charlie's got to go out there and get his strike zone back. And I'm like,
oh man,
all down in the clubhouse dugout. I mean, it was a big turning point. And in fact, I talked to Tony La Russa afterwards, and he said, "Man, you guys should have won that series. You guys are way better than us, and had." You know, you guys should have shut it down. But hey, that's part of the game. That's the kind of stuff that happens. And it's interesting that you that learning experience guided you through San Francisco. One of the toughest things for me to do, and the last thing I wanted to do when I took over the club was to ever have to go backwards, because I wanted to try to win every year. And we just felt like with the injuries that we had in 2012, we just were not going to be able to have enough horses to be able to get there, and that's why we ended up disbanding. But and that was not fun for me. Not fun to have to move you, because you were sort of exactly what we wanted at the time and exactly what we needed, but we just felt like we weren't going to be able to get there in 2012, sadly, because of our injuries.
Yeah, and I think you were right. Like Holiday was kind of like falling a bit. Like there was something that he wouldn't, admit to. That I think there was a lot of behind closed doors with him, and who knows what like Utley like really had in the tank at that point. Like, there was a lot of like limpy stuff going on. And you even said to me when you traded me, you were like, look, like we love having you, like we're going to miss you. Like hopefully we can cross paths again. So that was a totally different conversation than when I left the Astros, and it meant a lot to me and I didn't forget that. So that was really cool.
Hunter, you're doing Giants games now. You're still out there. What's your perception of this current Phillies group, out in the West Coast, and just what you see from whatever games? I don't know how many Phillies games you get to watch, but what you see on the highlight shows and whatnot.
I mean, this is one of the coolest teams in the game right now. It's just like such a great group, an easy group to root for. They're fun to watch. I mean, the combo of Schwarber, to watch Harper turn into what he's turned into, and we've seen him as a young kid and immature and hair on fire, and turn into just a great leader, a great human, a great member of the Philly community, family man, and and a historic baseball player. And Alec Boehm, they're just they're a team that's like really special. This is a time in Philly. This group is going to be remembered for a long time with very fond memories. They're on for the last 3 years, they could have easily won the World Series. Any of these 3 years, they're right there. And you expect it. I think this is that year. It's all kind of coming together. You just love everything that they're doing, that they've been a part of, and you can feel like the tightness and like even the words that these guys, how they speak to each other. So they're probably the most veteran, perfectly put together. Like it's like good brand of baseball through and through, and it's special to watch.
I think you're also doing some work for Perfect Game. Broadcasting Giants, but you like seeing the young kids coming up on the way, the young prospects. I think you got a nephew who's a good player, right? Involved with Perfect Game.
Yeah, I mean he's young, right? And obviously he's getting a lot of clout and a lot of attention because he throws really hard. He's actually a really good hitter. He's a good kid. He's worked very hard. He loves it. It's intrinsic with him. Like he knows more about the history of baseball than I do. But yeah, I mean I love all aspects of the sport. It's been awesome to have the time to. Honestly, the Perfect Game college baseball show that I've done for like 4 years, like getting to talk to some of the great college coaches, the great college players, like I did not realize how much baseball I was going to learn. I think college coaches are some of the greatest leaders in our country. The responsibility that's put on them and the business that it's become is ridiculous. And like, I come out of that show every time, like, with just amazing treasures of great wisdom and knowledge from them. So that's been really cool. And I forget what your other question was, but I have this weird window where I'm a little bit in youth baseball. I get to broadcast big league baseball games, and so I'm everywhere.
It's great to have you on the broadcast. I've made that transition now too. I know it's probably pretty fun that you get to talk about baseball. What's better than that?
Yeah, you can't really beat it. And you get to watch a ball game too, right? So you're around the guys, you get to watch the game, you get to teach. Like, you have all this like kind of specialized knowledge. Like all I've done my whole life is like study the game of baseball and study how to get better. And so getting to share a lot of that stuff that you learn through, 10,000 at bats or whatever the case may be. I don't remember exactly how many I had and so many innings in the outfield. So and Ruben, you've watched probably more baseball, you've forgotten more baseball than I've even seen. So
yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun, man. And I really appreciate you coming on today, man, and giving us your experiences and knowledge. And listen, make sure you just throw it through the catcher. The catcher.
I might.
You don't want to be on one of those memes. Man.
I might throw one of the scutters on purpose and just act like, because I mean, you've seen my throw. Like it's not pretty, so like I can easily like.
Mitch Williams,
that floppy fish.
I remember Mitch Williams did that once. He fired one 30 feet to the top of the backstop in the playoffs many years ago. So
and a warm up, and a warm up, intimidation, and then like start looking at your hand. See if that guy digs in.
Oh my gosh,
we really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, Hunter. Thank you again to Hunter Pence for the time. Hope you guys got a kick out of some of those stories. That was a lot of fun. Trade deadline, 6 p.m. Eastern. Whether the Phillies do something or not, we will be back later this week to discuss it and what it means for the Phillies going forward. Thanks, everybody. This is The Phillies Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Phillies Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you like what we do, give us a review. Tell a friend. Catch Ruben, Jim, and me on Phillies Nation TV, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. New episodes air an hour before every Saturday Phillies game on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Replays air throughout the week and on PhilliesNation.com. Get more of Ruben's analysis during, before, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Read Jim at the All City Network at allphly.com. Find more of me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and occasionally on MLB Network.